This is the Classic Auto Mall Show. Broadcast from the studios inside the Classic Auto Mall in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Just 1 hour west of Philadelphia at Pennsylvania Turnpike exit 298. Featuring nearly 1,000 classic, vintage, and barn-find vehicles for sale under one climate-controlled roof. Now, here's your host, Classic Auto Mall president and the man with all the toys, Stewart Howden.
And welcome, show number 223. Coming to you from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Gosh, what a lousy day it is out there. It's kind of gray and dark and, oh well. Anyway, so were we off last week?
Yeah.
It feels like longer.
I know.
It's just been crazy. We've had a busy couple of weeks, and we can talk about that here in a little bit. Before we get to our guest joining us in the studio today, how many cars in inventory right now? JR, go first.
958.
Okay.
I'm going to stick with the 950 from last week.
950, 973.
Oh, well, winner. Hey, thank you.
So joining us in the studio live with us today, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Harry Hurst and Michael Furman. Gentlemen, glad to have you here.
Happy to be here.
Harry, I hadn't seen you in almost 24 hours, or 12 hours.
Yeah, your listeners should know that yesterday, Stewart was the presenter at the world-famous Madison Avenue Sports Car Driving and Chowder Society Christmas dinner, which is a very, very exclusive opportunity. And we were all, loved to hear all of Stewart's stories and how he grew up and got into the car business. It was fabulous.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And something, I've been reading about that since the 70s from Brock Yates, who we wrote up with Brock Yates Jr., who had some great stories. But the 70s, we read about his dad talking about this great organization. And, of course, Walter Kronkite would go there and all these guys that you didn't even know were car guys.
Yeah.
That was the cool thing about you figured out who was the car guy when they went there. And same with yesterday when we were there. I mean, these guys, I didn't recognize but a few of them, but some of them are real serious collectors, and pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
And it was it's at Sardi's,
right?
And you may think it's just kind of a tourist place, but actually the food was fabulous, and it has all those wonderful caricatures on the walls, even up in the banquet room where we were.
Do they still do those? I guess, or I
guess so.
They haven't done us.
They haven't done us. Yeah.
Well, they're getting to it. It's on the list, and they were busy. So it's interesting that somebody. I guess there's not one person that's done it all these years. I can't imagine, or maybe
wasn't it Hirschfeld that did it? The guy, he was the artist for the New Yorker, I guess, and whoever's doing it, I guess, does it in the style of.
Right.
But it's amazing to look at the walls there and see all of these people.
Sure. I miss getting. My dad used to subscribe to the New Yorker, and I love the cartoons. Were great.
Yeah.
And I've pulled some great automotive related ones out of there over the years and put in our newsletter. That, probably I'm violating some copyright of some sort. But oh well. So Harry and Michael, for those of you who don't know, Harry is a photographer, and don't forget this, a social media wizard. When it comes
by total accident.
But isn't that the best kind?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The glory days of racing. If you're not watching, then following that on Facebook, you need to. It's a fantastic site. It gets a crazy amount of response. Over 100, almost two. You're closing in on
200,000. And we have the thing I find really enjoyable about it is. First of all, it started totally by accident. It started with COVID. I had nothing to do, and I just started scanning and posting photos I had taken that I had never scanned or done anything with, and writing little stories about it. And then we started getting guys like Brian Redman and Judy Stropus and team members, especially the mechanics and the guys, engineers. Tony Matthews is on it. He is a wonderful technical artist that does a lot of the cutaways you see in the magazines. And so and he goes back to the Ford GT program.
Right.
So No, it's just really fun to get the insider's view on a lot of these subjects.
Sure, and it's always sometimes it's better to have the guy who wasn't quite at the top of the totem pole too. You know,
right.
The perspective from the top is a little different from the bottom and the middle. Right.
The comments from the mechanics are the best of all, because they don't care what they say. And if a driver, that you used to think was a real hero, was actually a jerk, they'll say it right there,
and they'll prove it. Right?
And they'll,
Isn't that great? And then also joining us is Michael Furman, photographer, writer, publisher. How many books have you published and written and photographed and done? And it's
a lot. I don't. When I'm trying to put myself to sleep at night, I try to count the books, and because I don't count sheep.
Right.
But I get to around 30, and then I realize I think I missed one, and then next thing you know, I'm asleep. So I don't know how many I've done.
Good therapy, right?
Yeah, it is. It's allows me to get to sleep.
Well, and we're specifically here to talk about the Spirit of Competition book that's in its second generation or second version or volume. Or
second edition.
Second edition. I knew there was a word there that I could use, which is basically all about the Simeone Museum and the collection of cars that are there. And
yes, both Harry and I were involved in the first edition. Both Harry and I, our relationship with Dr. Simeone goes back long before the museum, and Harry was very involved with the creation of the museum with Dr. Fred, and I've been shooting Dr. Fred's cars long before the museum was there.
Sure.
So we were the obvious choice to help on the original book, and we've been sold out of that book, I'm going to say, for maybe 3 years.
Really? Wow.
And it was not an inexpensive book. It's quite an undertaking, and it sold out after about 12 years. And before Fred passed away, we all agreed we were going to redo the book.
Right.
Unfortunately, Fred didn't get to be here to see this copy. But as we worked on this, every day we'd say I hope Fred would have liked this.
Oh, what a great benchmark, though, right?
A benchmark from Fred was one step away from unattainable.
Right.
But somehow Fred always got you to attain it. I don't know how he pulled that off.
Right.
But both Harry and I adored Fred, as most people did. And so we've spent the last year and a half or so redoing the book. In my case, the minute the first book was done in 2008, we started shooting every car the museum acquired since then.
Right.
So over the last 17 years, we've shot...
That math's tough.
The numbers are difficult.
Very difficult.
We photographed every car the museum acquired. Now, not every car made it into the book because some cars just weren't worthy of being in the book. But generally speaking, it must have been about a dozen cars or so made it into the book. But where this got to be quite the challenge is Fred wrote the original book.
Right.
And Harry's charge was to try to bring the new editorial up to speed to match what Fred originally did. Fred wrote every single word. And we would shoot at the museum during the day. And as my guys were falling asleep and leaving, I would go up into Fred's office and he and I would review the text. And we'd be there for hours going over the text. And every so often I would move a comma or something. Me, the wonderful English student that I was. And it didn't matter what I did. Fred would say, why did you move that comma?
Right.
I said, what comma, Fred? He goes, I know there was a comma on that sentence. Meanwhile, the book's got like 400,000 words in it or something. So we went over every nut and bolt in that book, and a lot of effort went into it. So doing the new version was a bit more of a challenge. We had to do it to Fred's level, which means all the new text on all of the additional cars was something that Harry had to do.
Right.
And Fred had a very specific way of how he approached the cars. And so Harry had the tough part. I had the easy part. We've just been taking pictures over the years, and the cars are wonderful. And I brought in the same designer to update the book. And we decided that we would change the format. The original book was horizontal or a landscape format. And Fred insisted on that.
Really?
And I don't like a horizontal book. And unfortunately, Fred's not with us, so I got to change the format. Sorry, Fred. And
he'll forgive you, I'm certain.
Yeah, we went to a square, which gave us a lot more real estate. So we wound up going with our pages are like 25% more real estate, and there's 64 more pages in the book. And we added some things that were not in the original book. Then we had to go through and read the original text.
Right.
We thought,
which is hard to do.
Which is not easy to do. You'd be surprised how every typo jumps off the page and bites you. And we were convinced there wasn't one punctuation mark out of place. Oh, we were wrong.
Yeah.
There was no lack of typos and issues and inconsistencies. And again, every time we went through the book, we would say, we got to make this good enough for Fred.
Right.
And Harry did that. Harry was the one that cracked the whip on that. And when we were done, we had invited Fred's daughter, Christina, to write an introductory chapter. And she was very nervous about doing it. I mean, we all idolized Fred. Imagine her. I mean, he was like the most wonderful father to her. And she was just concerned that this book wouldn't do justice to her father and everything. She read the book. She loved the book and wrote the most charming introduction. And that was the very last page we added to the book. And we went right to press.
Wow.
And from my point of view as a publisher, we went to the best printer that I've ever worked with, and we've worked with printers all around the world. And oddly enough, he's right around the corner
How perfect is that?
in just outside Philadelphia, and he is more obsessive than we are.
Nice.
And it's very unusual to go to a world-class printer and then getting to go back and redo it. And when we went to redo it, we had all of the original files and we got to improve upon them. So we went through every single file trying to fine-tune them to make sure the color balance was correct. And we were really pretty good the first time around. And somehow this book is better.
Right.
So I've said this to a lot of people, and then I'll stop talking. I said this to a lot of people. If this is the last book I do, I'm going out on top.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I like that.
I'm really, really thrilled with the book. I'm thrilled with how we redesigned the book. Harry did a masterful job in blending in all this new material, and the printer did an extraordinary job. And, if lightning strikes me down at the end of the day, I'm going out in style.
You did it right, absolutely. Now, on the printing, that press was one of those, was that one of those Heidelberg XL 106 Speedmasters, I think it was called?
How do you know that?
Well, I think the paper was Neo Star 100-pound text. Seems to come right rolling off the top of my head there somehow, some way.
Well, my printer is the most obsessive person, and Harry and I think of ourselves as being borderline obsessive.
And then you meet him.
And then you meet him and you go, I'm not even in the same league.
Sure.
And somehow he makes it better and better. And the technology today is so incredible. If we sent the book to China to be printed, they print on like a 225-line screen,
right?
Which is nice.
Right.
That's nice. This was on a 400-line screen.
Right.
So this is so far past what your eye can discern. And yet when we go on press, my printer doesn't want me there because he says, Michael, you're not as critical as we are, and you'll just be so happy to see your picture on the page. You won't notice that it's like 1/100% off color.
Right. Oh, man.
So I let him just do everything. and he's a wonderful partner on this. And somehow the book is printed better than the first one.
Right.
And the first one was extraordinary, and this one's even better.
Is it? And I'm going to get to Harry on a couple of things too. Is it frustrating though, as a photographer, to have a book where there's a fold in the middle of the picture? Does that mess with you? How do you deal with that?
It is always an issue on every book, going back to the Dead Sea Scrolls. I don't know that they had too many full color images on the scrolls.
I couldn't answer to that, but
maybe Harry could, because I know Harry was around. But it's something you kind of get used to. And the one criticism we get every so often from somebody who'll say, there's a crease running down the middle of your page.
Right.
And what we try to do is mitigate that as best we can. We also can go to certain bindery techniques where the book tends to lay a little flatter.
Right.
And the only issue with that is the flatter the book lays, the less stable the bindery is. Right. So then you find out, a year later, your book is falling apart, and your wife is using your pages to line the cat's cage or something.
Nice.
But it is a bit of an issue.
Well, but I mean, your composition, the way that you take a picture. Dr. Fred said a couple of things about you that just blew me away. First of all, when he said watching you work made brain surgery seem uncomplicated. But what I like the most of, he said, let it be said without question that his images are true photographs. And that's important for people to know. They're not all doctored up, and you color correct things to get them to be exactly the way they represent the car in the way that it looks in person, right? That's ultimately what you're doing, is what you see with the eyes.
You're trying to be accurate.
For sure. And I mean, the attention to that detail, it's not that you're doing anything other than just seeing it from a different perspective, right? I mean, your eyeball sees it in a way that we wouldn't necessarily think to see it or take a picture of.
One of my eyeballs does. The other one doesn't work so well anymore. Most people, especially with cars, they get too close. Right. And they get a lot of distortion in the photographs. And like everybody, you're so happy to see your photograph that, it doesn't occur to you that you could have done it differently or better, or the image is just so badly distorting the car that you have to stand next to it and describe to people what the car really looks like.
Well, and then that kind of defeats the purpose of the photograph.
Which defeats the whole purpose.
Let me interject here because, you're talking about Michael's photography. For those of you who have never seen Michael in action, you have no idea. First of all, Michael operates in a studio that has to be far big enough for him to have his camera 75 feet away from the subject. So we're talking about an immense space. Where the car is not on the ground. The car is up on a platform. And above the platform is a light bank that Michael invented. He was the first...
I paid for it.
No, but the concept, I don't think anybody had ever done. It's a light bank that is longer than the platform, longer than the car.
Sure.
So it's this immense light source above the car. And the platform the car is on rollers. So the car can be rotated around in an infinite variety of angles to capture the light exactly the way Michael wants it. And then the other thing Michael has done that people are now starting to realize, he shoots the car at eye level, so at ground level.
Right.
So you can actually, if you look at his images, you can see underneath the car. And that way you really get the true perspective of the car's lines. Right. It was something I had no appreciation for until I met Michael and started looking at his photos. And now, you see any number of different people adopting that.
Sure.
But
a book of this magnitude, I mean, even when you had probably 75% of the photos already done from the first edition, right?
Correct.
So it wasn't as if you had to reinvent the wheel there. But I mean, to go in, I would think a blank piece of paper would be easier to write from than to go in and try to modify a currently written thing that somebody else wrote. I mean, you had a hand in writing it in the initial phase, right?
No. Fred wrote every word. Right. I mean, he would he would kind of run stuff by us occasionally, but I don't think it was more to get our confirmation rather than make it,
yes, sir, can I have another?
Yeah, right. No, actually, it was easier.
Was it?
Yeah, because Fred's style was so unique, but it wasn't artificial. Now, there were certain aspects of it that were artificial. For one thing, the first time I read Fred's book, I actually had to have a dictionary with me because his knowledge of the English language was so extensive that he would use words and you'd look at it and you'd say, that has to be a typo.
Right, I don't know. Recognize
but you would
word.
look it up and no, indeed, it is a word, and it means an 18th century French way of making a wooden wheel or something like that.
So what you're saying is he would kick ass on Jeopardy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so that became obvious. I would never be able to match that.
Sure.
So I gave up. I wasn't going to try to do that. But the rest of it was such an intimate and informal, I'll say. I mean, it's like he's talking to you.
Right.
And so it was a matter of just kind of getting into that rhythm of writing. And whenever he talks about his cars, it's not his cars, it's our cars.
Right.
Our car has this and that, because he really, truly, wanted to feel like he was sharing his collection with everybody. We all owned his collection.
Right.
And so you start getting into that kind of a mindset of it, and it was really not hard. And then, of course, I say this, it's kind of a little not trite, but it's I really felt like he was right there,
right, like over your shoulder and guiding you.
I mean, there are times that I'd go, oh no, don't do it like that, and
right.
I knew he was saying that.
Sure.
And
Fred was very, very consistent in how he wrote.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you had to go chasing after what he was trying to accomplish.
You knew it. You knew the template. Right?
And Harry had been working with him for so many years. You read the book now, you really can only tell what Harry wrote because we put Harry's initials next to each chapter that Harry wrote. Other than that, you wouldn't know that Fred didn't write them.
Are you surprised at the popularity of motorsports and motoring books that for years kind of languished on the shelves and got dusty, and now there seems to be a real, not research, maybe surgence, I don't know what the right word is, of these automotive-related books that are selling in huge numbers. I mean huge numbers, it's not Gone with the Wind, but but I mean, it's amazing how many books are coming out and doing very, very well. Karl Ludvigsen's book, Turbochargers and Superchargers,
3 volumes,
27 pounds, 3 volumes, and people were like, "Yeah, I read it." And I'm like, "You read some of it?" "No, we read the whole thing." I said, "Didn't they not lose you on page 3? I mean, Superchargers and Turbochargers is pretty finite, But are you surprised at the success of automotive-related books and publications these days?
Well, people are really dissecting the material to the point of infinitesimal attention to detail. And there's so much material out there. I think the great issue is so much material is wrong.
Right.
And a lot of times you'll see a book and everybody refers to this book as being the definitive source. And then you go to the book and you realize half that stuff's incorrect.
Sure.
And it was very, very important, extremely important to Fred that everything was accurate. Mm-hmm. And it was very important to us that anything we added to the book maintained that accuracy. And a lot of times we will contradict what people think because what people think is not correct.
Sure.
So
you mean just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true?
It seems like the more something is repeated, the greater the chance that it's wrong.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you have to source everything from every which way from Sunday just to find out that something is accurate. Mm-hmm. And it gets harder and harder to do as the internet gets so much more pervasive and people rely on something that somebody else wrote. So they say, well, this person wrote it, so it must be true. Sure. Well, that person was wrong.
Yeah, they've been wrong for years. I mean, we get guys who send emails to us on a car we have for sale, and they'll say, they never made a Camaro in chartreuse, and yet you find out that yes, they did. They made 2 in chartreuse, and then the guy goes, "Oh, I didn't know that," but he was adamant until he didn't know that.
Right.
You know, but I like Fred's philosophy that is that we're all, any of us that own any of these old cars are stewards of these cars.
Correct.
Stewards. They could be stewards of these cars.
You're a steward and a steward.
Exactly.
You're a double hitter.
I should say that on my business card. I like that. So that we're just keeping them for the next generation or whomever. Although I can't imagine that the Simeone Museum is ever going to go anywhere. It'll be passed down for, I would imagine 10 generations from now, it'll still exist in some form. Yeah, that's the plan.
And I hope that Harry and I are still doing the updated book.
Yeah. Volume,
Volume 12.
Look, I'd like to add 2 people to the writing team on this, though, because Chris Webb at the Simeone was instrumental in the editing of the existing material and my material as well.
Sure.
And you talk about the writing. Well, the editing was actually a little bit more of a situation where we adopted Fred's medical philosophy of, first of all, do no harm.
Right.
So when we went in, there were certain things that, and Fred had talked to us about it, that he wanted, to have corrected.
Right.
But we were very careful with what we changed. And then we also let Jonathan Stein look everything over for accuracy.
Sure.
So we tried to make sure that historically everything was accurate.
Yeah, I mean, you are trying to be the reference guide to this collection, and certainly it would make sense to not get it wrong. And, because, I mean, the diversity of the vehicles in there, it's not just, yes, they're all racing cars, but it's a diverse crowd in there.
Yeah.
And it's not something that one person is going to know everything about every single car in there.
No, and one of the real issues that we had was some of the cars that we added, like we've got a Porsche that ran in the 2007 series at Le Mans at Sebring, which is really kind of out of where Fred had positioned the museum. So, we thought about how are we going to do that? And the one thing we realized that we really needed to kind of bring the scope of the book up into the 21st century.
Sure.
So I added a chapter in there on professional road racing comes to America, which takes us past the SCCA of the 1950s and into the 60s, where we had drivers that were being paid and teams, that had a lot of money behind them.
Sure.
And that way we were able to include the Porsche in there.
Yeah, I think it's important to show current stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. I get the fact that it was not what it was maybe necessarily the first iteration or the first thought of what it would be. But don't you think Dr. Fred would say, hey, that's probably the right direction for us to go? He may not love it, but...
Well, I think, we've got to...
I don't know that, but Harry and I were able to convince ourselves that he would have.
Well, in the case of the Porsche, for example, one thing is... It had a paint job by Tony Lee on it. Okay, very distinctive paint job, right? And we all of a sudden we realized, well, our hippie Porsche 917 was really the very first art racing car.
Right.
A whole classification that now is very common in racing started in 1970 with a hippie Porsche. And so, the car fits perfectly with that.
That makes a total sense.
We have a Lotus 30, which never, you would think would never have raced at Le Mans. Well, actually, one did.
Right.
I didn't know that. Right. But it turns out, because I talked to Karl Ludvigsen, who you mentioned, it turns out that was actually his proposal to the Ford Motor Company to build the Ford GT.
Right.
They were going to do a hardtop version of the Lotus 30 as the first Ford GT.
Wow.
And so, again, it fits right into our collection.
Sure. I mean, it's interesting. It was one of the paragraphs or one of the chapters in there was talking about, will automobiles ever achieve the historical legitimacy of other important objects? I think they were there. Aren't we there? I mean,
when you're getting $100 million, it's certainly in a financial way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, but if you go to a horse auction versus a car auction, the horses, the cheapest horse there is $10 million now. So it's changed the equation. We always jokingly say that we've done very well here at Classic Auto Mall. And the amount of cars that we've sold and the dollar volume we've done, Rob Myers from RM Auctions did in 3 days one time in Monterey. and we've been here 8 years.
Yeah.
So, there's that. But some of the pictures in the book are amazing to get to those. One of my favorite pictures of you shooting a car is the tank Bugatti when you're standing in the car shooting down on something. I actually use that, and I'm sorry, I'll give you some kind of credit someday for it, in one of my business plans to show the level of detail we were going to take pictures of cars if anybody would loan us any money to do Classic Auto Mall. And it was that photograph, because that says everything with the lighting equipment and and I don't even know what you were shooting down on. Maybe something on the back of the car or something. I don't know, but it was
probably the gas cap.
Yeah.
When that shot originally appeared in the first book, I had my whole team around me.
Right.
And without question, I can't do what I do without my crew. And it seems that every time we have a picture of me working, there was one guy on my crew that always seemed like in the middle of the photograph, and the lighting on him was always perfect, as if he was the most important person. And when we went to redo this book, I went to look for that photograph, and I found a picture with just me standing there. And I said, I wouldn't normally get rid of the crew.
Right.
But I've seen Ken enough times that we can get rid of him, and we'll just make this about me. So, but we always try to document the sets while we're working.
That's a great thing. You should do that. I think it's important. And another one is not your photograph. It's a black and white historical picture of the 1909 American Traveler underslung with the 4 guys sitting in it, all very stoic. They're very serious looking, like they're going out to go 1,000 miles an hour. It's just, I don't know what nobody was smiling or posing. It was very
when we do the books, and we've done plenty of books that have a lot of historical imagery in it. That's the stuff that I really like. Mm-hmm, and we did a book on the history of Concours, which is like 90% historical images. Every time I open that book to look for something, I get lost looking at these old photographs.
Seeing those, and I can imagine that would happen.
I know when Fred wrote this book, each car is documented with historical material, and he wanted every car to have a driving impression. Nice. Now, most people, when they do that, they'll take the car out for a drive, and they'll tell you how nice the car is or whatever. In Fred's case, he went and found original driving impressions that were in period.
Wow.
So where these get to be beyond interesting is you'll be reading a text from Motor Car from the UK in 1911, and the author is talking about the car is effortless, and we're cruising along here at 9 miles an hour, and they're waxing very philosophically about, I can't imagine a finer ride than this. And of course, if you were to drive that car today, you realize that the rental car from Budget would run circles around this thing. Right. And this guy thinks this is the greatest thing since Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
And Fred was very, very particular about that. He said, you need to talk about the car in period because that was the only frame of reference.
Right. No frame now for something.
He said, if we were to drive the car today, we'd realize how awful they are compared to what we're used to.
Well, that's why there's resto mods. That's why people buy Camaro Z28s and they go, oh, this drives like crap. I want some modern stuff in here. I tell you, a couple of the other photographs. One was maybe one of my favorite photographs in the whole book is the 1967 Ford GT Mark IV with the rear clip off and the back end of it, and all the intricacies of the stuff, the parts and the suspension, and it's a picture that you could just stare at like the Mona Lisa almost. It's just one of those things that captivates you and you can't stop looking at it.
Well, my favorite shot in the book is very similar. It's the rear of the 75 Alpha TT, 33 TT.
Right, yeah.
And it's very similar, except the bodywork is still on.
Right.
And all of the mechanical bits are hanging below.
Right.
And if you look at the car just at the top, it's got this beautiful silhouette, and it's just really quite luscious. And then you look below it and you see the engine room. You see all the mumbo jumbo of pipes and wires and stuff underneath that motivate the car. And that's what I find so fascinating is that a car can be so beautiful on the outside, yet inside it is remarkably complicated.
Yeah, and kind of be ugly, kind of, right?
To maybe you and I, it would be ugly, but to the engineers, it's a thing of beauty.
Exactly.
And that's one joy that we have. We get to see the cars so thoroughly. We get to appreciate things that most people don't get to see.
Yeah, well, and that's what you hope to do in the book as well, too. I mean, obviously that. And then, you know, some of the illustrations in there showing cars, and they're trying to convey speed, and there's all the lines that they draw. That there's a couple of them. One's the page, I think, it was an advertisement for the page, and it's got the lines that it feels fast. You're looking at it, and you're thinking somebody drew that and had the wherewithal or the fortitude or whatever to say, let's make this thing look fast by putting lines, and it does the trick. Mm-hmm. So fascinating book. And where can people get the book, Michael?
You can get it through the museum on the museum website,
and
which is
www.simeone, museum.org.
Yeah, it's a wonderful book, and I've just glanced through it, and I see you brought me a copy, so I really appreciate it.
Brought you your own copy, Stewart.
Man, I'm telling you. So when I die, Kathy's going to have quite the treasure trove of stuff to sell. So if you see all this stuff on eBay, you'll understand that I'm dead. Anyway, thanks you both for coming in today, and so glad we got to visit as always, and we should do it more often. I think the last time I had you on was 4 years ago, and it's been not quite that long for you, has it?
Pretty long.
It probably has. So we will absolutely do it again. When we return, we'll continue with the Classic Auto Mall show from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Whether you want to buy or sell a classic, collectible, or special interest vehicle, you need to visit the Classic Auto Mall website for more information. If you're looking to buy, you can easily search our inventory of more than 1,000 vehicles on the web at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall show from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. My goodness, we should have recorded all the off-air stuff we just
three
did.
shows.
Three shows.
Yeah.
Stuff. What a great guest, great guys. I love these guys. It's, Michael Furman was one of the first guys I met when I moved here. He showed up here one day within about a week or two after Kathy and I first moved here, and we've been friends ever since. And of course, Harry, a great friend as well too. We met him very early on as well too. And
I guess Michael was too busy to take the position of photographer.
Yeah, the journeyman photographer gig was like, look, I'll get back to you on that.
I'm doing Ralph Lauren's collection. I can't be bothered with your 55 Chevy.
I'll get back to you soon. So where did we sell cars this past week, Steve?
Where?
How about Lexington Park, Maryland, Jackson, New Jersey. That's actually 2 weeks. So Charlotte, North Carolina, Perkiomenville, Pennsylvania, Malvern, Pennsylvania, Hamburg, Pennsylvania, Lehighton, Pennsylvania, Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, Baldwinsville, New York, Greenbelt, Maryland, Dickinson, Texas, Mapleshade, New Jersey, Myerstown, Pennsylvania, Leesport, Pennsylvania, Agde, France. That's 3 we saw there. Cameron, Texas, Czech Republic, Shillington, Pennsylvania, Sonoma, California, Assenograd, Belgium. It's somewhere in Belgium. That's our first car we sold to Belgium.
How about that?
Wow.
Yeah, Melville, New York, Frederick, Maryland, Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania, Annandale, Virginia, and Latrobe, Pennsylvania.
All right.
What was that? Yeah.
Big applause.
From around the corner to around the world, we're Classic Auto Mall.
We are. So
trademark.
Yeah. So as we were talking about with them on the show, did the Madison Avenue Sports Car Driving and Chowder Society luncheon yesterday. Was the keynote speaker, and Harry just was telling me off the air. He said, that's a real get, Stewart. He said, not everybody gets to speak there at the Christmas party. And he goes, that's a real honor. And he said, and you did a great job. So
nice.
Thank you.
It's a real name, too. It's not like a joke name somebody made up.
No, it's actually a real name.
It's semi-joke, though. It's
so
tongue-in-cheek.
We're going to change our name to the Classic Auto Mall Show Event Center and
Potato Soup.
And
Anaheim, Azusa, and Cucamonga.
The CDHPDVR 7134D.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah. New arrivals this week. How about the 1987 BMW M6? That thing is bad to the bone. The black one.
Oh, yeah.
Black over gray, one of 1,767 U.S. cars in 1987.
It's that
3.5 liter double overhead cam inline 6. It's got the very desirable 5-speed transmission, loaded with options, sinister good looks. What more can you ask?
It's pretty rare. I'm surprised it's still here.
I'm surprised it's still here. How about the 1986 Buick Regal T-Type Turbo? Not the Grand National, the T-Type Turbo, which is a different car, even though it's black over gray.
That's right.
2-owner T-Type, garage kept, one of 2,385 of those built. Numbers matching 200 R4 transmission. I don't think that really means anything. No. It's not quite as important as it was in a 69 Z28 or something, right? 10-bolt 342 Posi rear. Good. Beautiful car. And then another 1987 Buick Regal Turbo T, dark red metallic over burgundy, which is an unusual color.
Yes.
But this one has 64,000 miles, so it's had a little more use.
Well, that one also has the 70/30 bench seat with a column shift, which is actually pretty uncommon.
Pretty rare. Rare and desirable, though. That's what we always talk about.
That's a good one.
But it's rarer than a Grand National.
It is.
It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. I can say that easily, right?
It looks like your grandmother's Regal, basically.
Regal, right, yeah, with a bench seat. I love in the column shift because that's tough to stitch.
I know.
1998 Land Rover Defender 110, gray over charcoal anthracite, 95,955 kilometers. How many is that in miles?
What's that?
Do what?
Say
95,955 kilometers.
I think it's about 70,000 miles.
All right. Venerable 2.5-liter turbo diesel 4-cylinder. Those things are bulletproof.
I love them.
Yeah, they're really cool. This thing will go anywhere. Also new is the 1972 Volkswagen Super Beetle convertible, Kansas red over black, 8,800 title verified actual miles. It's a low mileage
it's a pretty little
Super
car.
Beetle. Yeah, I love those. The red is a great color.
It is.
Super Beetle convertible. Absolutely. And last but not least, the 1956 Chevrolet Bel Air convertible, Inca Silver and India Ivory, which is a really unusual color combination, which I like a lot.
Yeah.
Over ivory and charcoal, but it's got a 450 horsepower, 454 crate V8.
There you go.
So this thing's got all the power that you need.
Hot rod.
Willwood 4-wheeled power disc, because you need those to stop all that
That's
way.
right.
Stunning drop top Tri-5. I can't speak today, and tons of new parts on this car. So those are some of the new arrivals we have this week. So we'll post some pictures also of the Madison Avenue Sports Car Driving and Chowder Society.
Chowder Society.
Yeah, and they actually had chowder.
I bet.
Chowder.
I
Yeah,
would
they had
hope so.
Yeah, it would be like, where's the chowder?
Manhattan or New England?
It was the
good question.
It was the runny kind, not the creamy
red
kind. No, it was creamy, but it was a little more. It was thinner.
A combination.
Yeah, it was,
hybrid. New York.
Hillbillies called that. Anyway, thanks for joining us on the Classic Auto Mall Show. We'll catch you next week with another new guest to be determined. We'll see you then. Thanks.
The Classic Auto Mall Show with their host, Stewart Howden, executive producer, Steve Sethier, produced and engineered by yours truly, J.R. Russ, video editor, Randy Lammy. Available on ClassicAutomall.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Music courtesy of the Pat Travers Band. For tour dates, contact, and stuff, visit PatTravers.com. Produced by Car Smarts Media. Copyright all rights reserved.